continuation. All of you are welcome to the continuous program of video lecture in the chemistry related topics, and that is today we discuss about the waste in which the solid waste. The waste may be in the physical form. There may be the different gases, the different liquids, and different solids. So physical state of solid that clearly indicates that how they have the weight and they are present physically in the form of solid state. So solid waste also how we can generate very simple thing, the packaging material polythene, different plastics. So when we are using the different plastics and then they are not used by us and then thrown into the atmosphere in the form of what that is, for example, municipality solid waste. So uh, by human being, number of solid waste are generated. Even when we are using the clothes, so these clothes are when not in properly, then those are thrown. So different items, whatever the metals, alloys, which are not used, the different the items, for example, plastic item, the rubber items, different utensils, whatever that. Even the agriculture waste in the form of the plants waste, the animal waste. So number of wastage are generated by human being and how these waste are controlled. The fundamentally they are the chemicals. Why? The polythene, polyethylene, it is the polymer of ethylene. So ethylene itself is the chemical. Other polyvinyl chloride, that is the PVC pipes, electrical industries, the different electric wires, the different connections, under cables, and even the rooftop water had tanks. So that is the PVC. So PVC polyvinyl chloride. So that is the chemical. Why? Vinyl chloride, whatever the carbon double bond carbon, and then chlorine. So vinyl chloride itself is the chemical. So over any of that, if we have the food products, those are also in the form of the wastage. So those are also the chemicals because proteins, carbohydrate, and fats. So that is also relates with the chemicals. So here role of the chemical itself is important. Why? Because when chemical undergo the other chemical reactions and whatever those chemical reaction can produce the toxicity, then they are the hazards to human health of ourselves. So it is very difficult task how we survive on the earth if we have no control of those wastage, and definitely we will uh, have the problems appears because of the solid waste. So how? Because all of you would know that is the in nature one of the rule, then that is the cycle. So carbon cycle, sulfur cycle, nitrogen cycle, water cycle. Different cycles are there, and how these steps are there, how we get the proteins. So that is also giving the nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen itself is converted and they are present in the in the proteins. So similarly sulfur, whatever the carbon, so whole cycles present in the environment. If this cycle can be not controlled, so definitely the sustainability of human being on earth will be very difficult task. So let's we have continuation, and here for the continuation we can come here. What are the wastes? Waste any of the part that is not used by us. For example, if suppose we have that is the this one, and so what happened in this? This is the pen. So after using yeah, used by me, and here is whatever the other parts of the pen, and Here, the ink is there, that is inside. Whatever the whole pen itself is made up of the different polymers. So when ink is not there, then this pen will be thrown. So why thrown? Because that is not used by me. Similarly, there are number of items available, number of articles available. If any of the furniture, that furniture we cannot use, that this will be thrown. For example, we have the mattresses, that is the polymer. So polymer, polyurethane foam mattresses. So those are not used by us on the bed, then they are thrown. So that is the solid waste. So when we have to discuss about the whatever number of items are available which were not used by us, and those will be thrown. So for example, any of the paper, so this is the paper, then it is not used, then this will be thrown. So what is the meaning of the waste? One thing is there, that is not used by us. But in nature, whatever the natural resources itself is limited, it cannot. So energy is also that is not the limited, whatever the because of the natural resources giving the for the purpose of the energy. So in this particular case, if suppose we have the transportation system in which the vehicle parts, so if those vehicle parts are not used by us, whatever the vehicle, even if suppose we can say the transportation rules and there only 20 years is there for the life of that particular vehicle. So where go in this vehicle? Either this can be thrown, that is definitely, but not used because of certain legal aspects. So therefore, definitely the waste will be go to outside. But we have at this present, we are in the modern technologies, we are in the digital technology, we are at the most of the uh, technologies are available. For example, so how this waste can be minimized? First of all, we have to reduce that particular waste, or we have to reuse that particular waste, or we have that recycle itself. So certain R's are available: reduce, reuse, and recycle, whatever certain. So this is why we have to need to sustain human being, and those are the part of the material. The second part, what is the material? Matter, matter, material. So anything, whatever the air is the material. The our houses, we are weaving the clothes, we have the specs, we have the lenses, the laptop, we have the any of the atom. Whatever. Suppose this one, so this one is the one of the mm, item, whatever the article, but this is made up of which material? Ink is there, so that is ink material. Whatever the here the cap of the pen, that is the material. So which material? So here, whatever the tip of this pen, and that is the material. So definitely certain materials and articles item for the pen. Pen includes number of materials. Whatever the ink, whatever the pen body, whatever the color of third pen. So those are materials. Items, articles. One more thing is there. Daily life activities. So we need daily activities. First of all, the food, water, and the air, oxygen. Oxygen is essential, water is essential, and food for doing the work. So therefore, all those activities we start from the morning and the sleeping, number of items we are using. Even whatever the cleaning, whatever our finishing of the house, whatever any of the activities, if we want to read the newspaper, that is the activity. So newspaper, where goes the newspaper? After this can be thrown. So that is in the form of the paper. But that particular paper, whatever the that can be minimized. Minimize whatever those. So here, reduce, recycle, and whatever can see certain theories are involved in for disposal to get the problem of the solid. Types of solids. Whatever the solid, whatever we have given the answer, that is the question, and that particular question, the solid. Solid, if they escape, not used. The semi-solid, whatever the gel, so here inside that is the gel pen. So gel itself is the form of the semi-solid. Whatever the liquid, water itself is the liquid, and then gases, we have to smell them. The carbon dioxide, the nitrogen oxides, the sulfur oxides, the carbon monoxide, oxygen. So these are the gases. If we, what will happen? If suppose kitchen gas is there, so that is the liquefied petroleum gas. So after combustion of the kitchen gas, that is converted into the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. So those are the waste. So there are certainly four different solid waste, the semi-solid waste, the liquid waste, whatever the water effluent, whatever the industrial waste, in which the liquid is also, in case of the thermal power plant, the liquid in the form of the hot water is thrown into the water resources. So that's they have the adverse effect on the environment. Why? Because the material itself are dumped, and how they can say the dumping. So therefore we can say different aspects of related, and definitely we have certain so whatever that is related with the, so definitely different sources are there, and those sources affects our life. Now you can see the another part, and here we have the environment, we have the sphere. Sphere itself is the hydrosphere, and that is particular hydrosphere. Then atmosphere, and we have the lithosphere. So different environmental conditions are there, and therefore we get the what are the necessary for human. Definitely we have the needs, and what needs are there for different animals and plants. I have already discussed the cycles of the material. Whatever one more thing, and different materials are cycled. So how they cycle from one place to another. That is the role of that particular system. Here we can see the biodegradable and non-biodegradable, and those are the one more classification of the waste. Biodegradable, for example, in case of if suppose we have the plant trees, so those plant tree automatically they degrade. And what happened? So those are the biodegradable. If suppose we have the plastic, the whatever we can see the different plastics are available, and synthetic fibers, whatever the clothes, in case of the clothes, the terrain itself, the nylons, whatever number of polymers are there, and those does not undergo the degradation part. So those are the not automatically they degrade by the nature. So those are not degradable by the bios, whatever the microorganism destroy automatically to the wastage. For example, if suppose we have the forest agriculture waste, so that particular agriculture waste can be uh, degraded automatically because of the certain microorganisms. So even certain bacteria. So what we have, the bacteria have also we have the relevant benefits. Here the municipality solid waste, so that is also toxicity of chemicals occurs, because certain chemicals which are generated by uh, the process, and we get the solid waste. So solid waste having also the automation in the automatic chemical reactions occur because of the environment. What happened? Because in the different environment, so therefore, the solid waste itself is giving the toxicity in the form of some chemicals. So those chemicals definitely destroyed our life. So what we have, there are certain things, so we can get the part of that particular things, and definitely we have. Uh, so therefore, yes. So we have this one automatically can say environmental impacts also for the solid waste. Why environmental effect? Definitely they will degrade the environment because when the wastage are either dumped. So dumped, how they dumped? Because of something the non-biodegradable material. So they must be banned. Whatever the recently and earlier ago, so many years ago, the wastage, the polythene must be banned because that remain as such that does not biodegradable. So therefore, they have the one of the environment effect of those particular solid waste. So now we have to come towards the other part, and this poison. What are the meaning of the slow poisons are also there because number of toxic gases are generated when the solid waste is stored or solid waste is transportation or whatever the disposal of solid waste. So during the disposal, whatever the different toxic gases are generated, and those are in the form of the poison. Whatever the solid waste in combination of liquid and then leachates are produced. So leachates are the poisonous material. Whatever they can cause the different disease, including the cancer. So it is very odd condition how we can dispose that particular solid waste. So these are very essential in our life. But the question is there how these can be uh, safely disposed? This is the question. If those solid waste not safely disposed, so it is very difficult answer for the sustainability of human being because number of toxicity appears because of the solid waste, either those solid waste in the open area or in the dumped area or in the closed area, whatever the dustbin in our houses, dustbin in our the infrastructure system. So how, for example, if suppose we have the printer, whatever the printer printing that particular photostat machine, so the ink present in the photostat machine, the ink present in the printer, those are very finite particles of the carbon. Definitely very fine particles. So whatever that may be the health hazards of human being, how this can be disposed. One more question. If suppose the toxic material, for example, lighting system, artificial lighting system, tube light is there. So many tube light, so therefore the mercury is present in the tube light. So that how we can say safely disposable. So electronic items, how we can say those are safely disposed. And so whatever we have to do, this is the part of the chemistry. Why? Different chemicals we have to know which chemical is toxic and which is not toxic. So definitely, if suppose one solid is automatically degradable by the bios, so that we don't need the energy. If suppose plastic, so how we can dispose the plastic? Whatever the thing, the major thing, whether we can burn the plastic. So definitely, at that moment, also need us the energy, and then particular then after burning of plastic, that will goes to the atmosphere, that have the adverse effect on the atmosphere. So slow poison and poisonous material. Slow poison, why? Because if that particular solid waste is burned, definitely it becomes the poison in the atmosphere because they have adverse effects. So there are, if those are taken by us or whatever we are using that, whatever we are nearby that occupational health hazards because of the over during the processing, different poisons are generated and definitely the survival of human being that will be most affected. So now, simply what is the waste, and we have discussed earlier about all those, also known as the rubbish, the trash, the refuse, the garbage, the junk, litter, and dirty, unwanted or useless material. The biology waste is any of the many unwanted substance or toxins. Toxins are also generated that are expelled from the living organism. One, why? Because when we are having the respiration and we exhale the carbon dioxide, so notice in the form of the carbon dioxide, why toxin? That particular carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, these affects our blood. So if they remain there, so therefore, whatever during the respiration of our cell, we expel the carbon dioxide. So that is the toxin in the form of. So basal conversion of this is the another definition substances object which are disposed of or intended to be the disposed. It's called are required to dispose by any of the provision of the law. Disposal means any lead to the resource recovery and recycling, reclaim, direct reuse, or alternative use. So that is the for whatever the another definition the produced by the United Nations Static Division. The waste are material that are not prime product. What is the meaning? The waste are material that are not prime product. So after using this pen, this will be no prime product. That is product produced by the market for which the generator has no further use in terms of its own purpose. So I have not use, no use uh, for that. So when my purpose is sold, then I will throw it proper production, transformation, or consumption, and of which he or she want to dispose. So waste may be generated during the extraction of raw material. One more thing is there. So during processing, also the raw materials are waste, intermediate and final product. So final product, we are then the consumption of the final product. Then residual are recycled or reused at the place of the generation are included. So this is one of the whatever now why we have the concern of the waste. So already I have given that number of types of wastage are there, and based on the physical appearance there are the solid waste, liquid waste, semi-solid waste, and the gaseous waste. So here we have to come towards the solid waste in the solid form, and how these waste are generated, and domestically, they are generated, commercially, they are generated, and industrial waste. Industrial waste, whatever earlier discussed, the raw material and manufacture of this item. So, what happened during the industrial activities and the different raw materials which were used? So, during the processing, different raw materials, there are also the certain waste. And so where goes those particular waste? So that is the raw material waste are also there. After raw material we are using, so after use they have the waste. So waste in solid form, domestically, commercial and industrial waste. Commercially, whatever that I have given the example of the printer, and in case of the printer hole is the disposed when not used, but during that particular activity of the printer, the ink is used. So where go the safely disposal of ink is necessary. Safely disposable of electronic item is essential. Safely disposal of whatever the batteries where the certain toxic chemicals are there. So this is one of the concern. So here the kind of waste, first of all we have the solid waste, then plastic, styrofoam container, the bottles, the cans, whatever that. Papers, paper I have given the example of this the paper, and so this one is the paper. So this will be the waste when not used. Scrap iron, whatever those which are maybe the metals and alloys and other trash material. So let's we have to see that is the solid waste. Utensils, when not used in the kitchen, the different utensils, where go? Those are the wastage, not in use. The plastic container, not in use. There will be the waste. So it is very most important concern in the present text, present life, because the waste are important. Now another liquid waste, whatever those liquid one, the domestic washings our the cleaning of ourselves by clothes we ourselves how we clean bathing. So certain domestic washings, the chemicals, the oils, wastewater from the ponds, wastewater from the manufacturing industry, and other water resources. So this is the second one, solid liquid, and after this we have the third one is the gases. So what are those particular waste? We release the carbon dioxide after respiration. When we are taking the air, air itself is important concern. So air itself is taken by us for the purpose of the respiration. So what happened in that particular case? So that particular air, oxygen itself is utilized for the purpose of uh, the generation of the energy, because oxygen itself is essential for the combustion of food what we are using. So combustion of food, so definitely after combustion of food we get exhaled, that is the carbon dioxide. If incomplete concern is there, there may be the carbon monoxide. So that is the third one, those particular waste we have, and those particular gases which are automatically go to the atmosphere. Then so semi-solid in between the solid and liquid. Now one more thing I have earlier discussed about the degradation. So how particular items are degraded? This is the question, because in nature whatever the item we are using, for example water cycle. So water cycle, whatever we are using the water and then vaporize and then converted into the rain and then come down ourselves. So this is the water cycle, and then how we are using the water in our life. So we about 2 to 5 liter pure water is essential for ourselves within a 24 hours. So after this water itself goes where? And one, that is the degradable and non biodegradable. Biodegradable. So how this can be the any of the item that can be biodegradable. So what we have then, biodegradable can be degraded with the paper, one of the important, the wood, and then the fruits. So fruits peels, whatever when we are using the fruits, they are also the fruit waste are thrown. So that is in the form of the solid waste. So wood, paper, all those are, and but can be degraded, whatever those may be. But in case of the non-biodegradable, cannot be degradable. Those are the plastic, whatever the plastic bottles, then old machine, then the cans, then this, foam, containers, and others. So those are the point. Non. So generally, whatever the technology, whatever once upon a time, the ethylene was there, and in 1963, polythene was better approach, and at that moment the catalyst used, so therefore the value, the cost of polythene come down, and since then At that moment, the both scientists got the Nobel Prize only because of their particular specific catalyst, Ziegler-Natta catalyst. So that was the polythene, and now we have to go towards the biodegradable. So here, why we are also using the maximum amount of the maximum amount of we have to utilize, but not that is the correct answer, because we have to support the biodegradable items and not support the non-bio. But that is the essential. So, but life itself is there, so we have to see, we have to understand what about the things are there. Now, the classification, one more thing, and that is based on the hazardous or non-hazardous. So this one, classification of waste according to their effect on human health and the environment. So hazardous waste, whatever the meaning, one more thing, and substances uh, unsafe to use commercially, industrially, agriculturally, or economically. I'll have any of the following properties, what are the ignability, corrosive, and reactivity and toxicity. The major thing, the reactivity, the corrosivity, the toxicity. So those are the hazardous waste. Non-hazardous, we have to substances safe to use commercially, industrially, agriculture, or economy have of those properties mentioned above. So let's we have the that another one more thing, and certainly the US has the great role regarding the different systems, including the solid waste. So here also, whatever that is the Environmental Protection Agency, one of the premier organization of internationally, that is the premier organization. So environmental pollution, EPA, environmental pollution regulations, and in which solid waste is what? Any garbage or refuse. Remember that any garbage or refuse, the municipality solid waste, sludge from the wastewater treatment is also most. When we have to see the sewerage wastewater, that is the effluent from our houses, sewage wastewater, so that further the sewage wastewater is to be utilized for the purpose of whatever that particular different purposes we have to use. Sludge from a wastewater treatment plant, water supply treatment plant, or air pollution control facility. Other discarded materials are the solid, liquid, semi-solid, or contain gaseous material from industrial, commercial, mining, and agriculture operation. So this is the regulations of how we can use that particular environmental protection agency. So environmental protection agency who have also given so many plus points to reduce, to recycle, to reuse, to regenerate. All those are concerned with the that particular. So here one more thing is there, and that can be explained here automatically. That if suppose this municipality supply waste that is in the form of the solid waste does not give the proper disposable. One more thing I am giving the solid waste that is generated from the industry. So how the solid waste is generated by the industry. Whatever I have earlier discussed about that, that is the raw material. So raw material is in the form of the solid waste that is during the processing of any of the item. Whatever, if suppose we manufacture any of the item and those can be directly. So what we have, the question is there, why certain. Therefore, it is essential we have the chemistry is have the great role to reduce the toxicity, to reduce the human to control that. So chemicals role itself is most important concern in different industries, different manufacturing systems. Let's we have. some of the questions related with this. So overall, what we have, that is the solid waste itself is related with our life. So therefore, and the most important is the industry, and that can be industrial waste are also liberated. So therefore, we have to come towards the another part. Yes, solid waste, one of the question. So all of you have to see the question on the here, and this is what is the problem and what is the answer. Why plastics are difficult to recycle? This is one of the great answer. Whatever the answer directly relates with the human sustainability. Plastics. What are the plastics? Plastics are the polymer. Plastic are the artificial material. Plastics are the polymer of the respective monomer. So, why these plastics are recycled? So that is the great challenge here because it is very hard material. It doesn't matter. The second, very adhesive in nature. So, therefore, we can the correct answer itself is the C because of the different types of polymerization. So a different type of polymer resin, whatever if suppose we have to add thermoset, if for example, if we have one of the case of the polyethylene. So in case of the polyethylene, we have to add some other ethylene. So it is different. Plastic cannot be recycled because of those. So if those are present, so definitely let us not having the this one. Okay, so now we have the another question and see, and that is particular. We can say whatever that particular aspect. So it is clear. We are the showing that particular uh, whatever. So and so different wastage are utilized for that purpose. So what we have that is like that was here and the waste which we have they are solid waste. So solid waste, the combination of the different materials. If suppose we have the plastics, we have the rubber. So rubbers are also the part of the chemicals. For example, natural rubber eraser we are using. So in that particular case, rubber is also one of the example of the so here the whatever the answer, and this is because of the different types of polymer resins are present in the combination. So, for example, in a, we have whatever I have the one of the article, and that is the pen. So, in case of the pen, it is very difficult because of the number of polymers are there, whatever the flexibility, whatever the rigidness. So thermoset, in form of so different, whatever the polypropylene, whatever the other copolymers. So it is because of those resin. So the correct answer itself is different. So, plastics are difficult to recycle because of the different types of polymer resin in their production, since each type has a distinct chemical composition and different plastics cannot be recycled. Okay, so we have the next question. See the how many key characteristics of a municipality sanitary landfill are there? The disposal of the solid waste, disposal of the municipality solid waste. So here the municipal sanitary landfill, whatever that concern about the disposal of solid waste. So lands are filled, whatever the open area in an agriculture area or the wasteland, whatever that cannot be. This is the concern of the municipality. So landfill are there. So here The correct answer, the three key characteristics of a municipality sanitary landfill that distinguish it from an open dump. Whatever we can dump it or throw in open area, whatever the municipality. So every citizen, what we have to say about half kg of solid waste is generated daily by every human being. If suppose in a family member, if four members are there, so definitely about 2 kilogram of solid waste is generated by by that family of four people. That may be the metals and alloys, that may be the food waste, that may be the paper waste, that may be the plastic waste. So large amount of solid waste itself is generated. So that is whatever half kg daily waste, whatever there may be the food, there may be the whatever we are using the different vegetables, so that peeling of those vegetables, so how we can make the food in the kitchen. So therefore, definitely that waste will be thrown in, and that is the municipality solid waste. So here, you can say that may be landfill, or that may be thrown into the open area, whatever the activity, what we can the recycle, reuse, and other are. So here, open dump or the solid waste is placed in a suitable selected and prepared landfill site. The waste material is spread out and compacted with appropriate heavy machinery. The waste is covered each day with a layer of compacted soil. So each day you have to make that layer. Next question, the organic material, the organic matter, whatever we have discussed, the different types of plastics, different organic polymers, and other whatever there may be. For example, if we have the wax, we have the certain petroleum products which are in the form of the solid. So whatever those materials are buried. For example, if we have to see our infrastructure, the roads, so here the coal tar itself is used for the purpose of the road. So that is also the solid material. So different organic materials are the solid. How these materials are buried and will be decomposed. The question is there. So here by the action of microorganisms. This one for the naturally, but whatever the artificial, it is very difficult. Organic material in the buried solid waste will decompose due to the action of microorganisms. At first, the waste decomposes aerobically, whatever the air is there, and until the oxygen that was present in the freshly placed fill is used, then whatever that up, then another by the aerobic microorganism. Then, what is called for the process of burning municipality solid waste in a properly designed furnace, suitable temperature and operating condition? There is the correct answer, the incineration. Incineration is a chemical process uh, in which the combustible portion of the waste is combined. Waste is combined with oxygen forming carbon dioxide and water, CO2 and H2, which are released into the atmosphere. What is the thing? So, carbon dioxide and water that can be released after the incineration. And so, therefore, we can say the correct one here can be shown. So, whatever here, the process in which combustible portion of the waste is combined with oxygen forming carbon dioxide and water, which are released into the atmosphere. Suitable temperature and operating conditions are required to achieve for incineration. Why the recycled paper is banned for use in food container? Because it creates contamination of the food. Why contamination? Because different the poisonous material, different toxic materials which are present in the paper. For example, if suppose we have the lead containing. So that definitely that creates contamination in the recycled paper is meant for use in food container to prevent the possibility of contamination. It very often costs less to transport raw paper pulp than scrap paper collection. So sorting and transport account for about 90% of the cost of the paper. Now, the another question, landfilling is an economic alternative for solid waste disposable and it can be implemented easily. Although landfill is an economic alternative for solid waste disposal, it becomes increasingly difficult to find suitable landfilling sites within economic link distance from there will be danger of some of the environmental damage. Now, what plans should be made to the disposal of solid waste? Integrated waste management, recycling of waste management plan, reducing of waste management plan, use of waste management plan. So here the correct answer is the A. The disposal of solid waste should be part of an integrated waste management plan. This integrated solid waste management is the method of collection, processing, and resource recovery and final disposal of the. So many of the items can be recovered, collected, and processed after processing. Suppose any of the metal item, so those are collected from that. So those collection and that can be recovered by the different technologies and finally disposal of the solid waste. So now we have another municipality solid waste is used to describe which kind of solid waste and this is hazardous. So the term municipality solid waste generally used to describe most of the non-hazardous solid waste from a city, town, or that require routine collection, transport to a processing of disposal. So now let's we have all of you have listen my the lecture on the solid waste. So solid waste is one of the concern for the humanity because this one is important task. High the solid waste because of what we have about half of kg of solid waste is generated generally in the urban area, whatever the towns, whatever the cities, whatever the big cities and metros. So when because of whatever, if suppose we have the food items, those are the packaged food item. If suppose we have the confectionery items, so all those confectionery items are packed with certain polymers, certain, and those it is very difficult answer to degrade those particular polymers because then we have to certain whatever the question is there integrated waste management program must be there and to avoid the different poisonous materials which are produced during the activities also. The solid waste itself is one of the important concern in our life and where the chemistry itself is most important in finding out the what type of solid waste is there and which solid waste can cause us the toxicity which can so it is we have to know about the chemical reactions and different chemical present in that particular solid waste. For example, we have to see the newspaper. In case of the newspaper, the lead itself is used in the form of the printing ink. So therefore, that particular paper, if suppose we want to use for the purpose of the food, so if suppose the food items are present in that, but whatever the confectionery items, those are present, those are packed in the synthetically polymers. So it is very difficult to answer. So which one is the better? So we have to learn more of the chemical reactions and more of the chemical composition of that particular solid waste. So that is the final answer integrated waste management program must be there and where the involvement of chemical is also one of the important part. So, okay, all the best. If anyone want to contact me, my contact number and email ID are on the Grace Canviar University website. And if anyone want to contact me for their good learning, whatever they learn, whatever the opportunities, whatever how these can be used in our life and how for the purpose of the human sustainability. So for the human sustainability, directly chemistry role is important. Okay, so you all are requested to see the our website sureshcanvia.com and as well as visit at our campus. So that campus having internationally standard amenities including the human resources of the faculties, those are also of the international level. So okay, all the best wishes for that. So I think all of you are well and I have to learn all those